Goliath, before we get to know each other better, I feel I should tell you a story about a teeny little man named David.
Psalm 108. My heart is steadfast, O God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Wake up my spirit, awake, lute and harp. I myself will waken the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praise to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is greater than the heavens, and your faithfulness reaches to the clouds. Exalt yourself above the heavens, O God, and your glory over all the earth. Save us by your right hand and answer us, that those who are dear to you may be delivered. God spoke from the holy place and said, I will exalt and parcel out Shechem. I will divide the valley of Sukkot. Gilead is mine, and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim is my helmet, and Judah my scepter. Moab is my wash basin. I throw down my sandal upon Edom, and over Philistia I will shout in triumph. Who will carry me in procession into the fortified city? Who will bring me into Edom? Have you not cast us off, O God? You no longer go out, O God, with our armies. Grant us your help against the enemy, for human help is worthless. With God we will do valiant deeds. God shall tread our enemies underfoot. Amen. Well, welcome back to Tread Weary, and Pastor Smee here coming to you from the high desert of California. This is actually take 2. I did this recording a couple of days ago and went to go post it, and suddenly there was no audio whatsoever. So after being frustrated for a couple of days, now I'm taking a chance to do it again. This is part of the reason why we don't have video this time. But we're picking up in Tobit in chapter 11, and where we left him off is that, using the fish guts, he was able to ward off the devil, well, a demon. And as well as we remember that his parents are assuming that he's dead, right? He's been gone for so long, they don't know if they necessarily can trust Azarias. And so they're assuming that he's dead and gone. But Tobias has left where he was with his new wife, Sarah, leaving his father-in-law Raguel behind, and Edna Mood, and they're on their way back to Nineveh. They've gotten the money, all these things. Azarias / Raphael is with him, and here they're going to make their trip back, and Tobias has a job to do for his dad. So let's take a look here. Verse 1, chapter 11. When they came near to Kasserine, which is opposite Nineveh, Raphael said, You are aware of how we left your father. Let us run ahead of your wife and prepare the house while they are still on the way. As they went on together, Raphael said to him, Have the gall ready in your hand. And the dog went along behind. Dog? There's a dog. That's a little weird, right? There's a dog. Suddenly there's a dog. Like, what the heck? They brought a dog with them. I guess they did. I have no idea. I am looking at the note here in my SBL study Bible because I'm using that one here at my house. And they have a dog with them. I don't remember there being a dog. Suddenly there's a dog. Whatever. The dog goes with them. But they're deciding, Raphael or Azarias says to Tobias, okay, remember we left your parents. It's been a long time because we've been having this wedding banquet and all of these other things. It's probably time to head back. And they're They're probably a little worried about you, which we know they are. And remember, he says to remember the gall, right? Because the gall of that fish, which has got to be reeking to high heaven by now. Like, I'm guessing Tobias does not smell too good with the fish guts in his pocket. He's supposed to bring that gall, which is probably petrified, to put in his dad's eyes. Because remember, Tobit, birds pooped in his eyes, he went blind. Now we're going to rub some fish guts in his eyes, and suddenly he's going to be able to see. That's where things are heading. Anyways, verse 5. Meanwhile, Anna sat looking intently down the road by which her son would come. When she caught sight of him coming, she said to his father, "Look, your son is coming, and the man who went with him." And I find this situation interesting because Anna believes that her son is dead, that her son is never going to come back, and she's almost lost hope. And yet it says that she is sitting there looking intently down the road, not expecting him to show up, and then he does. And it's actually a beautiful picture of the things that we are told by Christ, right? That we're supposed to stay awake, that we're supposed to keep an eye out, that we are supposed to assume that he is going to be coming back and coming back tomorrow, that we are supposed to be looking for our master to return. And so we are supposed to stay vigilant with that. And it's a beautiful picture of she's lost faith, right? She doesn't necessarily believe that Tobias is going to come back. And yet she's still sitting there waiting and looking. That's a sense of faith, and the sense of, I'm trusting that he's going to come back, even though I kind of believe that he's not going to. I'm still going to embody this trust. And that's a beautiful picture of the Christian life in the way that we often do not wholeheartedly trust that God is going to do what he says he's going to do, that Christ is going to come back, and all of those things, right? And yet, we continue on. We continue to look to the horizon, waiting for this one to come. It's a beautiful picture. Beautiful. Raphael said, and again, notice that he's just being called Raphael. He's not Azarias, he's Raphael, the angel, or the Ninja Turtle. Said to Tobias, before he had approached his father, I know that his eyes will be opened. Smear the gall of the fish on his eyes. The medicine will make the white films shrink and peel off from his eyes, and your father will regain his sight and see the light. That makes me think of Paul on his way to Damascus, right? And he gets struck blind. And then when the dude shows up to pray over him and to heal his eyes, it says that something like scales fell from his eyes. It gives me that same vibe. Verse 9, then Anna ran up to her son and threw her arms around her son, which I think all of us would do, saying, now that I've seen you, my son, I am ready to die. Wow, that's... Okay, thanks, Mom. Nice to see you too. And she wept. Then Tobit got up and came stumbling out through the courtyard door. Tobias went up to him. So he's blind. He's stumbling. He just hears his son's voice. And he goes to see him. It sort of reminds me of blind Bartimaeus, who goes running up to the Lord. He can't see, but he hears his voice, and he's like, yes, Lord, I'm here. Tobias went up to him with the gall of the fish in his hand, which is just gross, and blew it into his eyes. That's interesting, because the other version, I'm using the NRSV updated edition. The version from CPH says smeared it in his eyes. Then blew it into his eyes, then took hold of him, saying, take courage, father. With this he applied the medicine on his eyes, and it stung. Next, with both hands, he peeled off the white films from the corner of his eyes. Then Tobit threw his arms around him, and he wept and said to him, I see you, my son, the light of my eyes. And in the, if I remember correctly, in the original, or not in the original, but in the version that I have in my office, it Raphael makes the point of saying that it's going to sting, it's going to smart, I believe is the translation that is used. That it's going to have the stinging effect, like when you hit your. It used to be that if you hit your funny bone, you'd say, "Oh wow, that smarts." Same sort of thing here, though. They do a good job of translating, and it stung, meaning it burned. It was not fun. But it says that with both hands he peeled off the white films from the corners of his eyes, and is almost like taking out his blind contacts, and he's able to see, and he sees his son. The sudden opening, the sudden work, and it makes me think of how Christ is said to come and open the eyes of the blind, and he does it multiple times in the scriptures that blind men see, the smearing of the mud on the guy's eyes in John 9, and then says, go and wash, right? Or the other people, Bartimaeus and others that are healed in that way. It's a beautiful picture in the Christian faith of this work of God to open our eyes. And oftentimes we need to pray for that. Pray that God would open our eyes, right? That pray that the Lord would open our eyes to be able to see him, to see his work, to cling to him more, to not grope around in the dark looking for some other stronghold, but to cling to him always because our eyes are open to see him, right? Well, he continues on. He prays this prayer or proclaims this praise. Blessed be God. May his great name be upon us, and blessed be all the angels throughout all the ages. Okay, he's talking to Raphael. This gives you a picture of why certain of our brothers and sisters believe in guardian angels. Though he afflicted me, now I see my son Tobias. And that I like that verse there, actually. Though he afflicted me, now I see my son. The picture in Ezekiel of that, though he afflicts us, yet he binds up our wounds. That even when God afflicts us, when he disciplines us, he will bind us up again. That he'll do this work to break us down, to make us more like him, to grow our faith, to pour his spirit into our hearts, to take out our heart of stone and give us our heart of flesh. And it hurts, because surgery hurts, right? It's surgery is trauma. There's a fine line between surgery and murder. You can get your guts cut out by someone on the street, or you can have it done by a guy with MD after his name, right? But here is this picture of God, even though he afflicts us, yet he heals. So Tobit went in rejoicing and praising God at the top of his voice. Tobias reported to his father that his journey had been successful, that he had brought the money, that he had married Raguel's daughter Sarah, and that she was indeed on her way there, very near to the gate of Nineveh. Then Tobit, rejoicing and praising God, went out to meet his daughter-in-law at the gate of Nineveh. When the people of Nineveh saw him coming, walking along in full vigor and with no one leading him, they were amazed. Yes, because when transformation comes to our lives through the work of Christ, through the work of God, it should be something. It should be something that amazes people, right? There should be some sort of transformation in us where they're like, wow, wait, what's up with this? There should be something different. Right? Because that's what happens when someone is dead and they're raised to new life. All the other dead people around them are going to be kind of thrown off guard a little bit, because in their death, they're going to be wondering what's going on here, right? Before them all, Tobit acknowledged that God had been merciful to him and had restored his sight. When Tobit met Sarah, the wife of his son Tobias, he blessed her, saying, "Come in, my daughter, and be welcome. Blessed be your God who has brought you to us, my daughter. Blessed be your father and your mother. Blessed be my son Tobias, and blessed be you, my daughter. Come in now to your home and be welcome with blessing and joy. Come in, my daughter." So on that day there was rejoicing among all the Jews who were in Nineveh. Ahikar and his nephew Nadab were also present to share Tobit's joy. And so they have themselves another wedding banquet. But It's a beautiful picture of radical hospitality, right? That it is that you welcome someone only because someone else in your family has welcomed them. That it is, well, my son has seen fit to bring you into the family, so therefore you are fit for me to welcome you. And it's a beautiful picture of what happens in the family of God, that we so often want to segregate ourselves out, and yet we should be welcoming in people. We should be welcoming people in who we wouldn't otherwise, that we wouldn't necessarily welcome into our homes, and yet we should be going, you are welcome here because you are my brother, you are my sister. I wonder what that would look like in the church. When the wedding celebration was over, we're now in chapter 12, was ended, Tobit called his son Tobias and said to him, my son, see to paying the wages of the man who went with you and give him a bonus as well. He replied, Father, how much shall I pay him? It would do me no harm to give him half of the possessions brought back with me, for he has led me back safely, cured my wife, brought the money back with me, and healed you. How much extra shall I give him as a bonus? Tobit replied, he deserves, my son, to receive half of all that he brought back. So Tobias called him and said, take for your wages half of all that you brought back, and fare well. This passage hits me hard because it is sort of this law-based passage in the sense that the law dwells on deserving. The law dwells on the idea that somehow one person is deserving of this and not deserving of that. It dwells on the idea that that you have earned something, or you have not earned something. And here we have this picture, well, Raphael has done this thing, so therefore he deserves for us to do this thing. That's a dangerous way to go through life in the sense of gospel stuff, God stuff. I'm not talking about work stuff, although the Bible does say that you should be content with your wages. I'm talking about gospel life between Christians, within the church. There should be an understanding that we deserve nothing, that there's nothing that we deserve, that it is but by God's grace that we are brought together in the family of God. And so we should take that as the life that we live. And yet so often, because we are so part of the world, we believe that that's the way God works, that it's about deserving, that God will repay me, God will do this, God will do that. Yet that is just a cleaned up version of eye for eye, tooth for tooth. It's no different than the way people are talking about the problems in our country right now with everything going on, Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and there's people on one side saying, well, he deserved it because he was a jerk. And then there's other people on the other side talking about the people who've lost their jobs because they've said things like that, saying, well, they deserve it, they're jerks, right? Having this deserving mindset in our minds, when the call from Jesus now, because we've been given new life in him, is to live in a different way, in a way that we don't live by deserving. Instead, we live by grace. I wonder what that would look like for us. Let's see what Raphael has to say. Then Raphael called the two of them privately and said to them, bless God and acknowledge him in the presence of all the living for the good things he has done for you. Bless and sing praises to his name. Now that's good, right? Turning them towards God. What it is that he has done. That's the life of the Christian. Everything is objective. You are the object, not the subject. God working upon you, right? With fitting honor, declare to all people the deeds of God. Do not be slow to acknowledge him. Again, turning things to God, right? It is good to conceal the secret of a king and to acknowledge and reveal the works of God with proper honor. Do good, and evil will not overtake you. Now we're getting into a problem, right? That it is that as long as you do good, evil won't overtake you. Is that true? I don't think that's true. I don't see that happening in the world. I see plenty of people, especially within the church, right, where Jesus says that our life is to be one full of suffering. That it is that as Christians, we are brought into the church and our life is filled with the wounds of Christ. That it is that we live in him, and he is one who is the suffering servant. That it is that we are going to have persecutions, and we're going to have trials, and it's not going to be all peaches and cream, right? And yet here, Raphael's saying, well, you do good, and evil will not overtake you. Well, we do trust, right, that Christ has defeated the devil, and that the church, Hades shall not prevail against the church, right? And yet, we see plenty of people doing the right thing all the time and losing. It goes along with my favorite quote from Star Trek, where Picard says to Data, you can do everything right and still lose. You can make no mistakes, I think is what he says, and you can still lose, right? That you can do all things right. You can do all things well. You can do so much good, and yet you end up being a loser. Prayer with fidelity is good, and almsgiving with righteousness is better than wealth with injustice. No, that's true, right? Like you want to be a prayerful people. You want to be a giving people because God has given you. He's given to you all things. He's given you life and breath and food and water and clothing and house and all that stuff. And so we should have this life that is dedicated to giving back to the Lord, right? That should be the focus of our life. The focus of our life should be giving back, that we should be a giving people because God has given to us. That is how the Bible talks about these things. And so he's doing well there. And almsgiving with righteousness is better than wealth with injustice. I think that's a good phrase, that it's better to be one who gives away than it is one who hoards. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold. That is very true, right? For almsgiving saves from death and purges away every sin. Now that's bad. The idea that somehow you can buy off God by doing the good things. When what the New Testament tells us, especially I believe it's in Luke 16, where I'm going to be preaching on, well, I did preach on part of that this Sunday, after you've heard this, that there is no buying off God. That it is that after we do all things that we've been asked to, we're just supposed to say, I'm just a poor servant and I've just done what I'm supposed to do. I've just done my job. That it is that almsgiving does not save us from death, does not save us from, because think of Tobit here. Birds pooped in his eyes. He was persecuted. He had to run away. He almost got killed because he was doing all these good things, almsgiving, burying people, all this stuff. And it was not going well for him. The whole story is a brilliant story of saying that Raphael is wrong here, that almsgiving somehow saves from death and purges away every sin, as though sin is transactional, that I can just buy it off. I can just pay God a little bit by paying somebody else, and God will be gracious to me, and I can just buy him off. That's not how things work, is it? It isn't. That's not how God works, because then God owes you something, and there's some boasting there. But we're told by Paul that there is no boasting, that we are unable to boast because salvation is by grace through faith. So we're missing a little bit of Jesus here, where it is that if we could do it through almsgiving, then there would be no need for Jesus to come. Those who give alms will enjoy a full life, but those who commit sin and do wrong are their own enemies. Again, I sit here and I go, you can give away all sorts of stuff and yet die. You will die. Your almsgiving is not going to save you from death. And you can be a very giving person and you can die young. It's very dangerous. Verse 11, I will now declare the whole truth to you and will conceal nothing from you. Already I have declared it to you when I said, it is good to conceal the secret of a king, but to reveal with due honor the works of God. So now, when you and Sarah prayed, it was I who brought the record of your prayers before the glory of the Lord, and likewise, whenever you would bury the dead, in that time when you did not hesitate to get up and leave your dinner to go and lay out that corpse, I was sent to you to test you. And at the same time, God sent me to heal you and Sarah, your daughter-in-law. I am Raphael, one of the 7 angels who stand ready and enter before the glory of the Lord. So he's talking about, and this is probably where we get a lot of that theology around angels and what they do. The 2 of them were shaken and threw themselves face down, for they were afraid. But he said to them, "Do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Bless God forevermore. As for me," and that's a good answer, right? That basically saying, don't worship me, worship God. "As for me, when I was with you, I was not acting on my own will, but by the will of God." So sent by God to do this thing. That is always that prayer that we should have. Lord's will, your will be done, right? We should be praying that every day. We should be praying that for ourselves and for our friends and family and everyone. Bless him each and every day. Sing his praises. When you were watching me, I was not really eating anything, but what you saw was a vision. So there's this lack of fleshiness there, sort of this Gnostic idea, as though Raphael was not to take on flesh or to actually be a human being. He's just a ghost. He's just a whisper. Has no need for any fleshiness. I don't know if I'd like that. I would like my angels to have a little flesh and bones and take part in life with us, because then they'd understand us. So now bless the Lord on the earth and acknowledge God. Okay, yes, I'd like to. See, I'm ascending to him who sent me. Write down all these things that have happened to you. And he ascended. Then they stood up and could see him no more. They kept blessing God and singing his praises, and they acknowledged God for these marvelous deeds of his, that an angel of God had appeared to them. And so he ascends, kind of like someone else that ascends first, right? It's a beautiful story of dedication, of desiring to help out family members, of wishing to be connected to mission, of trying to do the will of God, but at the same time, what do we have but Raphael basically saying, the best way to salvation is to be somebody who empties their bank account. And that's not going to happen. That is not true. And I run into that quite a bit. I had someone in my office just recently who kind of was trying to make the case for themselves that a church, not our church, they're not members of our church, that their church should have given them more money than they were offering them to help them with a financial need, because they tithe regularly and they give of their time and all these other things, as though the church owed them something, when none of the stuff that we give is ours. This isn't Stewardship Sunday, so I'm not going to try and get into a conversation around that, but none of the stuff is ours. It's not. We've been given these gifts, and so we are called to give that stuff away. And it's all gifts from God, and so we are just stewards of it. We're just managing it, and we're called to offer it back. And so there's no possibility for us to buy anybody off, because we're basically living off credit. We're using somebody else's money, somebody else's stuff. And so even when it comes to like salvific issues, there's nothing that we bring to the table but our sin and our rebellion, as Luther would say. And so it is that when we come to God, we cannot sit here in our life with God and think somehow there are things that we can do in order to make him pleased with us, when he's already pleased with us on account of Christ. Let us pray. God, among us we gather in the name of your Son to learn love for one another. Keep our feet from evil paths. Turn our minds to your wisdom and our hearts to the grace revealed in your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. Well, church, blessings to you. Prayers of peace be upon you. I pray that you'd continue to share this. We're getting so many people listening throughout the week and the month and everything. We've grown in so much listenership over these last few months. It's been crazy. Continue to share these things so that more people can hear about the grace of God found in Jesus Christ for you. Go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Amen.